There's some that are really long and hard to pronounce, like brodifacoum and some other stuff. Basically, they're anticoagulants, so they mess with their bloodstream and they bleed out. Well, before this video gets started, we want to address something. Hey, look at this. The grass is freaking green. It's not dead.
Happen?
It's not dead because it rained.
It rained. We put some fertilizer on it, threw a little bit of seed.
Well, but it rained.
It did, and that was.
And the rain came from this big, huge hurricane. So I want to talk about that because you and I took a trip
right where this thing smacked.
Yeah, we went to some really cool places. We rode some rivers and streams and waterfalls, and
from what I understand, none of those things are there anymore. In fact, the parking lots where we park
dude,
to do
gone.
the river rafting,
they're gone.
Cars were washed out of those.
So here's the sad thing. I don't feel like enough is being done.
Well, and I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. When we're sending $33 billion to Ukraine and we can't even take care of our own people here at home.
Dude, there were people trapped on their roof. Their house was floating down the freaking river, and their people died. It's sad.
Oh,
it's
lots of people
sad.
died. And we should have, our government should have been sending military and everybody there to help. We should be doing everything we can to make sure that these people in our home country are taken care of.
So we don't know, we really don't know anybody in the area. We went there because our friends were going there and they invited us, and it's pretty country, and it was gorgeous.
Oh man.
And I would love to go back, but unfortunately none of the stuff that's there is the same, and it's sad because, man, there was loss of life and there's a whole mess.
Are damaged. None of the landmarks
are going to be the same
ever again.
That's too bad.
Bridges are gone.
We drove
rivers are completely shifted. They're not even flowing in the same places.
We drove down 40, which is like wiped out. We drove right through Asheville. Dude, I went to the breakfast twice in that one place. It was really cool.
Well, and then the ice cream parlor at the bottom of the one canyon that came out with the waterfall, that's gone.
That's too bad. So if you have any resources or you know people in the area, definitely call them, check on them, and if you want to send some help somehow, do that because they really need it. And they're our neighbors. They're good people. Very pretty place. It's horrible that it got destroyed. Did you see that lake that's all covered in just logs and debris and crap? Sad.
We're donating through our church. Our church is sending money to these guys. So as a company, that's what we're doing. If you guys have the funds, if you guys have the means, get out, do your part. That'd be great.
Yeah. Anyway, just a little PSA before we get started. It's sad that they had to suffer that, but hopefully they get back.
They will. They're good people, and they're hard workers. I know it.
And it's a beautiful place. So
yep.
Anyway, let's get down to the video. Welcome back, everybody. It's Ben. Hey, I'm alone because it's fall, and that means it's hunting season. So you know where Ryan's at. He's gone. So what am I going to talk about today? It's time to get back to pest control. We're going to talk about a couple of things. First, I want to talk about what everybody's worried about right now, and that's mice. Rats, mice, whatever you're dealing with. As it gets colder, because it's a little bit chilly, it's like 50 something degrees, that means that pests and mice are going to be trying to get into your homes. So we did a video a long time ago about entry points and stuff like that. I'll put a link of that one so you can laugh at us, see how horrible we were back in the day. But I'll put a link in that one in the description so you can see, on a physical house, what entry points you want to look for. But I wanted to show you today how we treat. It's time to give away the secrets, but we're also preparing for something big that Ryan and I are working on, a secret project having to do with pest control and wanting to help you guys do pest control for yourselves. So stick around for that. It's coming. All right, so when you're dealing with mice, there's hard ways and easy ways to do it, and it really depends on what you want. So the myth that most companies are going to tell you, and this isn't true, is that the products they put in their bait stations are going to dehydrate and dry out the mice and kill them, and then you won't be able to smell them or see them ever again. They're going to go outside looking for water. We've heard all the myths. Those are not actually true. Actually, what happens when they put bait in a bait station is it is a anticoagulant. It affects their blood and makes them basically bleed out. It really destroys their insides. So that's the sad part about it. But does not dehydrate them, does not make them stop smelling if they die somewhere. So they could get in your walls, they could get somewhere in your house and die and stink. That's the downfall to baits. Now, baits are very effective. They do bring them in, they eat them, they work really well. There's different kinds of baits. There's pellet baits, there's hard baits, and there's soft baits. You guys can buy some of those. You can go to your local hardware store. You can buy little blocks, that's what they call them, or you can buy the pellets. I grew up with Decon. That's the same idea, pellets. Some are different active ingredients. It just depends on which one you're dealing with. There's some that are really long and hard to pronounce, like brodifacoum and some other stuff. Basically, they're anticoagulants, so they mess with their bloodstream and they bleed out. Typically, they're going to put baits in a little box like this, little bait station. The way these work is you have a key that comes with them. It's the only way to open it because you can't, they snap shut, you can't open it. You could probably pry it open with a screwdriver, but it's supposed to be kid safe, pet safe. The way this one works is you put your bait in here and then you set it up against the wall or in a corner, and then the mouse has to come in this way, get to the bait, and it can go in or out. So that's how these work. They just protect the bait so that pets and kids don't get into them. Now, bigger dogs can chew through these boxes, so you got to be careful. If your company's using these and you have big pets that chew, probably don't put these where the pets are. Or, take some initiative, take care of your pets. If they chew on stuff like your shoe, they're probably going to chew on this because there is some smell coming out of that when you put a bait in it. And they wonder what it is. So there's small bait stations and there's large bait stations. So these are for rats. The hole is much bigger. Same idea though, except you have to be like really good to get these open because they take 2 keys or double. So the same idea, they come in, they eat the bait, they can go out, and it protects it from other stuff. Some of these they attach to cement blocks so they can put outside and they won't blow away. Some of them they actually spike into the ground or screw them down. So it's got holes for mounting. You should secure them because if they're not up against the wall, they're not going to do very good. Mice and rats are going to run along the walls, and as they come along the wall, they're going to find this hole, they're going to go in there. It's a nice place to hide, but hey, it smells good, it's got food in there. So those are bait stations. Those are going to be the most common that a pest control company is going to use. You will find some guys that are very persistent and they're going to use these little snap traps. You guys probably have used these little snap traps. So I never got the little bait tab. It's yellow like cheese. That doesn't work, by the way. Just because it's yellow and it's shaped like a piece of cheese doesn't mean that they're going to come and eat it. You got to put something on it that they want. So obviously you guys know how these work. You set them, put some bait on them, they snap and they catch the mice. Here's the difference. Bait station, you will probably not see the dead mice. Snap trap, you should see the dead mice and you should be able to take. So there's cleanup, which is nasty. There's dead mice that a lot of people don't want to deal with. But you do get to see evidence that you're actually doing something. These, it's harder to know because you're just waiting until you don't hear or see or have any evidence of mice. So good and bad. Some people say that this is the lazy way, which it kind of is, but because we're only treating homes like once a quarter typically, this is a good way to put enough bait in there to kill their mice and we don't have to be there to clean them up, reset them. One bait station can kill, you know, several mice. This will only kill one, although I've seen posts online where they've caught a couple of them at a time. That's rare. So usually one, several. So it's kind of the, you know, the reason why most companies are going to use bait stations and bait. It's cleaner, it's easier, we don't have to be on site to monitor it. So if you guys are doing it yourself, you know, take that into consideration. Figure out which way you want to go. Let me show you how these work. I'm gonna get my glove on because I don't need products hurting me. And you shouldn't touch baits with your fingers, some people say. I don't know. I've heard either way. If you get your skin oils on the bait, sometimes that can affect it. I don't know. If you put a chocolate cake in front of me, even though somebody may have sneezed on it, I'll probably still eat it. So you put your little bait block in this container, snap it shut, and there it is. So for the most part, you can't get to it. Kids can't get to it, pets can't get to it. And it's designed to be, let me show you. All right, I'm in the office now. So the way these are designed, they're supposed to be placed up against an exterior wall or a wall, or you can put them in the corner and then they're forced to go through the holes that way. So they're nice because you can stick them behind a fridge or in the kitchen somewhere underneath the counter, put them up against a wall or a surface, and then the mice will run along and find them. So these small bait stations are designed for interior typically. I've seen some outside. And then the bigger bait stations are for outside, for restaurants or buildings that may have mice or rats. And the way these work is you can do this. You can take your little bait block, a lot of them have a hole in the middle, and you can set them on those little spikes. Or if you use a soft bait, here's a soft bait. It's basically similar to active ingredient. It's just a soft, like a chew, and you can just poke those on to your little bait. You fill this up with both if you want. That's what we do typically, was we'll use a mixture. Because sometimes you want meat with your potatoes or potatoes with your meat. I don't know, so you do that. Put in your baits. Some bait stations are designed a little differently. This one you can get, there's another metal bracket that goes across here if you just want to hang soft baits across it. But that way it has them there all presented nice. Gordon Ramsay would be pleased with this. I wiped the edge off. My presentation is awesome. So the way these work, snap them shut and we'll put them outside. All right, so these exterior bait stations, you want to secure them. You want to put them somewhere where you know that there's mice or rat activity. So your first culprit might be the dumpster area, and you're going to have to look for a place where you can put this, that it's secure, it won't blow away, that it actually might do something. So if I'm here by the dumpster, maybe I'll put it up against the exterior wall. If it's concrete, you can Tapcon it, or you can screw it, or you can put it on they have the concrete block style. I could show you one of those. But you want to make sure it's secure. You want to make sure it's up against the building. It's not going to get run over, messed with by animals. So here's a bait station that's a different style. It's missing the lid. That's why we've got it back. But you put your baits in here and it has a lid that shuts. This one has a base. It's a plastic base, but underneath it's got bricks. So that weighs it down and keeps it on the ground. There's this style. There's ones that actually have a brick or a decorative looking brick that holds them, or some people will actually attach bricks themselves. But this one won't blow away. It's also very used, so we're not going to use that one anymore. So sometimes when we take over an account, we inherit some of the other companies' old bait stations because they didn't come and pick them up. So these two are other company ones, but I'm not going to try and pick on them. But this one's cool. It's got a nice brick bottom. Look at that. Bolted to it. Thin. So there's the bait station. It's about the same size as ours, but it's kind of a cool pattern. And here's the other style. This one has the spike, so you can drive it in the ground and it holds it. So this one you could put in the grass up against the house, spike it down. There's the entry point, and then you put your bait inside. So those are kind of cool too. All right, so most important thing is mice are going to try to come in. Why? They need food, they need shelter. It's going to get cold, so they don't want to be outside, but mostly they're coming in for your food. So you need to do something, either cat, snap traps, bait stations, whatever you want to decide to do, so that you can control the mice population. Once they get in, they're going to make a mess. They're going to chew things. They're going to bring in diseases. You don't want that. You don't want that. So those are some of your options. Bait stations, they work. Snap traps, they work. Put the right stuff on them. Just keep maintenance. Keep them full. Keep checking them. Over time, some of the baits will dry out and not be so appealing. So if they're old, maybe you should swap them out. Okay, the next part of the video is going to be about spraying. Spraying can be a big controversy because you have to go by the label, okay? So I've got a bottle of one of our common products. This is Demand. And you know, there's going to be people out there that say he should be wearing gloves and he should have PPE. It's unopened. Okay, we haven't cracked this one open. I'm using it as a display. I'm not going to mix it. I'm not going to do it. But I'm going to talk about it because this label, if you look at these, every product has a label that you're supposed to follow. And this is the reason why people that try to buy products and do it themselves get in trouble, because they don't know or understand the label. So this is the label. It's got a whole freaking book of what you're supposed to know before you apply this product. So it'll tell you several things. It's going to tell you how to mix, what PPE to wear. It's going to tell you how much to put in and how much to use. So it sounds simple, but let me point out a few things. So on the label, it has a percentage of an active ingredient. So this one is actually 9.7% of this concentrate liquid is actually the active ingredient, lambda-cyhalothrin. So some of you are going to make fun of how I said that, but I like it. And then it has 90.3% other ingredients. So those are going to be suspension ingredients. They're going to be carrying ingredients. They're going to be microcap, helping, aiding ingredients, all that kind of stuff. So this product works really well for a lot of pests. So that's why we like it. But it is a very complicated label. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. So on this label, depending on if you're outside or inside, it's going to have different suggested mix ratio, dilution percentage, amount per 1,000 square feet that you're supposed to apply. So there's three things there, and that doesn't have anything to do with the 9.7% active ingredient. It has to do with how much you mix into how much water, and then how much of that product that you mixed you're spraying in a certain square footage. And to confuse you even more, it has several different levels. So for example, 3 mix ratios that we use, we have 1 ounce per 1 gallon of water for a specific application. We have 1 ounce per 4 gallons of water for a specific application. And then we have 10 ounces per 50 gallons for a light specific application for a power sprayer. So you do the math, and that's not the same amount of this per gallon of water, because you have different mix ratios, different target pests, different levels of how much of this product you need. And that's allowed by this label. So what does that mean? Mix whatever you want, mix it heavier, it'll kill more bugs? Not necessarily. You have to follow the label. So the highest mix ratio on this has specific instructions of where you can use it and how you can apply it. So let me explain where people go wrong. So right here I've got my product ready to be mixed. I've got a brand new sprayer. So if I'm trying to mix spray and apply to the building, I have to read the label of what I'm supposed to use and how much. So let's just pretend that I mixed it at a certain mix ratio. It really doesn't matter, but we'll pick one. So let's say this is a gallon sprayer. Let's say we use the mix ratio 1 ounce per 1 gallon, just for simplicity's sake. We mix it, I shake it up, I agitate it, I do everything that the label says. I get my gloves and my PPE and everything, and I'm getting ready to spray. So getting ready to spray is where people go wrong. I'm gonna show you, and I don't spray exteriors with a B&G. I use either a backpack or a power sprayer. But I'm gonna show you what can go wrong even with a little sprayer. So if I'm gonna spray across this, the spray band is about 8 or 10 inches. And I spray right where I wanna spray, get the product right where I wanna spray. Can I overdo it or underdo it? It's a good question, right? How much am I supposed to put in this area? So the reason why pest control technicians are licensed is because they have to know the label. They have to know the limitations of the label. So I can't just soak this down with 50 gallons according to the label. I have to use a specific amount per 1,000 square feet. So I have to know the length that I'm going to spray, I have to know the width, and I have to figure out how many square feet. Because if I don't, I could be applying it wrong. And let me show you real quick. So let's say I take the sprayer, I pressure it up, I put it on the bigger stream, and then I want to spray. And I spray. Okay? I sprayed what I think I need to spray right there. If that's according to the label and I use the amount of gallons per 1,000 square feet like it says, then I'm good. Here's the problem. I could take this sprayer and just really soak it. Or better yet, if I don't like waiting for the mist, I could just do this, right? Oh yeah, that's gonna get it. That'll kill more bugs. So here's where people go wrong. They're spraying, and there's a certain amount that they're supposed to spray for every 1,000 square feet. So 1,000 square feet is roughly, 10 feet wide by 100 feet. That's simple. There's a number of gallons to get a dilution percentage that's acceptable by the label in that area. So two things happen. People will take their product and they'll say, and this is just an example, it's probably not this way on the label, but let's say spiders is what I'm targeting, and I want to use 1 ounce per gallon, and I'm supposed to use X amount of gallons in 1,000 square foot area. Some guys are like, well, if I really want to kill the spiders, I'll use 2 ounces per gallon, double it up, and then it'll really kill them. Well, if it's not on the label, you can't do it that way, and it may not work. Some products, you reach their threshold and you pass it, and they're not going to work. They're going to do other things. The chemical compounds are not made to be mixed different than the label. Doesn't mean that they're stronger or weaker or whatever. It just means you've got to mix it the way it says. And the other problem is you could mix it right. You can have 10 different technicians mixing it at 1 ounce per 1 gallon. One guy sprays the building and he uses 4 gallons. Another guy sprays the building and he only uses a half gallon. So the amount of product that's actually out in that same amount of square footage could be wrong. And that's where most guys are going to screw up on this. All right, so I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to use a mix ratio for a backpack sprayer as an example. So in a backpack sprayer exterior, you can mix this product at 1 ounce per 4 gallons of spray. Okay, so that 1 ounce per 4 gallons is considered a dilution percentage of 0.02%. So basically that percentage number that they're put on the label is how much actual product is in that area that you're spraying. And they base everything off of 1,000 square feet. Not every house is 1,000 square feet. They're usually not. So they're gonna be more or less, and you have to know how much it is. But for the label, they're just gonna tell you how much to spray per 1,000 square feet. If you only spray 500, well, you spray half of that. Makes sense, right? You have to do a lot of math to be a pest control technician. Anyway, so 3 numbers that are important: your mix ratio, your dilution percentage, and then your number of gallons per 1,000 square feet. So, like I said, 3 guys can mix the same mix ratio for the same supposed dilution percentage, but if they spray more or less than the other guys, then that percentage is thrown off, because that's based on how many gallons per 1,000 square feet they're spraying. And that is something that they have to do according to the label. The way you mix these, and I can't do this one because it's sealed, is you actually squeeze this bottle. You take this cap off and you squeeze this bottle, and it pumps product up into here, into this little measuring cup, and you can see it's got different ounces and milliliters listed on there. So if I'm going for 1 ounce for a 4-gallon backpack, I got to squeeze it till the level comes up to 1 ounce. Then I can take the cap off and dump it, and it's only going to dump out what's in this little measuring cup. It's kind of cool, right? That's how these products work. Some of them only have like 1 measure, like the ant product we use. It says 1 gallon. This is the line. That's what you're supposed to mix. Pretty simple. But this product, since it has a wider label, you can mix at different percentages and mix ratios. It's got a bunch of things that you can do. And like for our power sprayers, we got to fill this several times to get 10 ounces. All right, so why am I telling you this? You hire somebody, they're supposed to know. They come out, they do it, they apply it properly. Well, are you sure? You have to know what you're doing. You have to actually watch people and find out if they're doing it right. I have to check my guys all the time. I have to make sure that they're applying the right amounts per 1,000 square feet. So, for example, I used 1 ounce per 4 gallon as an example. Let me pull out my cheat sheet here and I'll tell you. 1 ounce per 4 gallon, dilution percentage of 0.02% says that I'm supposed to spray 1 gallon for every 1,000 square feet. So that means if we measure the house, the perimeter of the house, and we're spraying X amount wide, and I know it's going to be 400 and something square feet, that means it's going to be a little less than half a gallon. Does that make sense? Can a guy spray a whole gallon on the house? He can, but that's not done properly. What if he sprays 0.25 gallons? Then he's not enough according to what he mixed or put his ratio as. So some people think this is a no-brainer type job, but it really does take some math and some prep. And what we do to help is we give all our guys cheat sheets so they can know how many gallons they're supposed to spray. And I even made them a chart for lineal footage. So if they're spraying lineal footage and they're spraying this wide, this is how many gallons they should have, and that way they know how much they should be targeting and trying to get on the house. So we really try to make an effort to make sure that our mix ratios and the amount of product put around the house is correct. And that's how it should be. But there's guys out there that don't. And that's why I brought it up today. And that's why I'm trying to troll for people that are going to yell at me for not wearing gloves and saying that I mixed up, wasn't wearing proper PPE. But this whole video was done and that thing is still sealed. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. So we talked about mice. Talked about mixing sprays. So if you guys buy your own spray off the shelf, you got to read the label. You got to know what you're doing, and you got to do it right. You could be applying it, spending a bunch of money, and the product mixing with something else or not doing it right could just make it not worth doing at all. It won't kill any bugs. That can happen. So over mixing, under mixing won't get you the results you need. Overspraying, underspraying, that's going to screw it up too. So thanks for watching. That's going to be it for today. We'll see you guys on the next one.